This is Jewel TV. Of course, we are broadcasting to you live from Bend, Oregon. And of course, we have a special guest today, Jane Garner, who is live from Utah. But first and foremost, before we get started, we are going to do a little bit of in-house-ness, I should say. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will kind of talk about what today's episode is all about. And we will kind of show you Jane's stuff through my keynote here. So this is always very exciting. So welcome, Jane. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. I know Jane is a little bit nervous. I can understand. She's willing to be one of our guinea pigs for our very first quick critique. So I'm excited to see her here. Her work is lovely, and we're going to talk about it and show the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Right, Jane? And she has been kind enough to be willing to subject herself to this kind of horrible treatment. I promised her I would be nice, though. So quick critique today with Jane Garner as your Taco Latte. This is episode 21 here on Jewel TV. And this is brought to you, of course, as a Jewel TV production. If you would like to log in and see the archives from Jewel TV, go to jewel-tv.com. Enter your email. It's a very quick and easy process. You'll see a big box like this where you can get freebies that come with the episodes, as well as access to the archives. We have business topics, creative topics, and of course now these quick critiques to help our students get better and better in their work. So today, a quick critique with Jane Garner. Welcome, Jane. I'm very excited to have you with us here today. She is a photographer from Utah. My mouse is not showing me where it is at the moment. Hang on, let's escape. There we go. So you're from, where exactly are you in Utah, Jane? Correct me if I think you're near Provo. Am I accurate?
About an hour north. I'm in a small place called Kaysville. It's just north of Salt Lake City.
Nice. Very cool. Now, as we all know, Utah is a challenging market. It tends to be, you can't really charge a lot in Utah. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Why do you think that is? Why is it such a hard time in Utah?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a thing, though. I mean, even in the industry, we know that it's really challenging for any industry, let alone photography. But it is a challenging thing to command high dollar prices in Utah. The cost of living is very low there. It's nice. It's a beautiful area. Of course, the mountains are right there. And you have a great population to pull from as far as your photography goes. So no worries there. It's just going to be finding that magic price point for you. I think that's really going to work. So, and how long have you been shooting professionally, Jane?
About 4 years.
Okay, and talk to me about a little bit about what your struggles are with your work. Like, why did you come to me today for a critique?
Well, I've always been drawn to newborn photography, but I've done all different kinds, and I really want to focus in on newborn. As I do them, I struggle with the posing. It just seems to my sessions last forever, and I want to get that down so they aren't so long.
Yeah,
for all of us.
I can relate. Yes,
I feel like as I can get them in a pose and get the lighting, and I feel okay once I get them there. It's just then getting to the next pose and kind of the flow posing.
Yeah, I understand. And it's challenging. I mean, sometimes with a baby who just doesn't want to sleep, I mean, it can be frustrating at times. And then when your energy gets kind of tense, then you feel it from the baby, and the baby won't calm down and relax. And it can just be a cascading effect of challenges. I totally hear you. Okay. So, what do you think is the best parts of your work? Like, what do you really love about your work? And then I'm also, of course, going to ask you what things, technically you struggle with.
Okay. Oh boy, what I think I do pretty good at is, I think my lighting is okay. I shoot in my basement, so I have to use external lighting. It's not natural lighting.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty comfortable with that. I think I can use some help with tweaking my posing and the camera angle.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And do you play around with that in the session, or are you still kind of at the point where you're more worried about the baby kind of settling down than, I know it's hard to think about everything at once. And when you're when you're trying to like get a baby to calm down, you're not exactly willing to experiment with things.
Exactly. That's mostly, I mean, I've experimented a little bit. Mostly it's just like, oh, they're still, let's take a picture.
Yeah, right. Hurry, shoot.
Yes.
I so can relate. I shot twins yesterday, and I tell you, it was really challenging because they were 5 weeks old, and they, just wanted to stretch out, and they are awake, and when one's asleep, the other one's awake, and it's just, I can totally relate. It's hard. And so sometimes you're like, okay, it's good enough. Just take the shot. Right. I feel your pain. Okay, well, let's kind of go over. I know you in your quick critique application, you put a couple things down that you really want to work on. So I want to go over those a little bit, and then we'll get into looking at some of your images and see the awesome side and see the side that we can work on too. Sound good?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again with you guys here, and go ahead and roll with the punches here in Keynote. All right. So first of all, Jane, and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you can. Well, instead of correcting me if I'm wrong, kind of go into a little bit more detail and what we're talking about here. So one of the things you really wanted to talk about when it comes to your work is your style. Is there a consistent one? Tell me about what you think your style is like right now.
I think I'm becoming more and more a minimalist. Okay. I'm more just I'm really drawn to the natural, the not too bright of colors, not too much in the way of props, just very simple.
Yeah.
But up until just recently, it's like, oh, I got to have this cute thing here and this, I was doing a little bit too much, I think.
Oh my gosh. The temptation with props is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Oh my gosh. You could spend so much money a month just buying everything everyone says you need to have.
Yeah. And I got sucked into that.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir, girl. I'm so, yeah. It's like, especially when you have a bad session, it's like retail therapy. You just go to the prop shops and see what you can buy just to make yourself better. Oh, I can relate. Okay, so we're going to look today for a consistent style. We're also going to look for your technical ability. Is the technique solid? So you talked to me about your lighting. Is you feeling pretty good about that? What other areas of technical are you struggling with other than posing? Is there anything like with your camera or composition or color tonality or set design? Is there anything there where you feel, oh, I need to ask Julia some questions about that?
I'm feeling, well, maybe the set design, maybe that would be probably another area with me wanting to go more simple. What is too simple,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Is there such a thing as too simple?
Yeah.
I hear you. And honestly, I don't believe there is. I think, well, and again, this is art. It's all subjective at some point, right? But I really believe that less is more. And I think that high-end photographers who can edit out things in their set design tend to kind of really let their work highlight that feeling of elegance, refined. Like even just in merchandising today, when you go to a high-end brand, like, I don't know, I'm kind of a freak for the Louis Vuitton store in Las Vegas, right? Okay, so you walk in there and each purse is like on its own little shelf with its own little light, white, everywhere background, very simple. It's like the purse is it. That's what they want to showcase. And in newborn work, I think it's the same way. The baby is what we want to highlight and showcase. So by doing that and having a concept of less is more in our heads when we're set designing, and number one, it's easier because you don't put too much in there. So it keeps it simple. And number two, the baby is the one that really shines. Now, on the other hand, your posing has to be dead on. Your lighting has to be dead on because that's when it's going to be seen if there are mistakes. Make sense?
Well, yeah. And I think that with the minimalist, the fine tweaking of, the hand position, things like that, I need to work more on that.
Yeah, and it comes with time. So even if you aren't getting it now, don't be hard on yourself. I mean, it took me years to do it. And then finally, you'll have this like little breakthrough. You'll go mentor with someone, or you'll take an online class, or something will click and trigger, and you'll have one of those exponential growth periods that are so like coveted, but it will come.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Number 3, quality. You want to talk about, not necessarily is it a professional level, because I really think your work is at a professional level, but maybe what I got from this and from what you were asking is more about, is my work worthy of upping the level of charging that I
Right.
go to? Does
Yes.
that make sense? Maybe you can clarify for me a little bit.
Yes, because I've been doing just like the shoot and burn, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to go to in-person sales, get kind of bigger packages,
Yeah.
uh, charge
So,
more.
so we're
Yeah.
wanting to make that leap and that jump, and you want your work to match that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Okay, well, first of all, let's start looking at some images. Are you ready?
Yes.
This is the best part. Okay, this one I have to say is one of my favorites. It's classic. It's just never go out of style type work.
Hmm.
Beautiful. There's a beautiful line. So when I look at images, one of the first things I look for, and you have to also understand that I look for images in terms of a competition perspective. Now, does
Hmm.
every image need to be competition worthy to sell to a client? Of course not. That would be silly. Like so many of my images are like yesterday with the twins, I was like, okay, just get the shot, just get a
Yeah.
good shot. And it's still a professional level image, yet it's not quite the quality for competition. But whenever I critique with that in mind.
Hmm.
Because that's when you really set the bar high, that's when you're going to start, making images that start going to that bar, if that makes sense.
Right.
This image I really love. I felt like your posing was very nicely done. Tiny little tweaks, like the little baby's pinky finger, right there could be more up,
Right.
just flatten out those fingers. Those are tiny little
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But overall, it's beautiful posing, and with Daddy's hands, it's
Hmm.
a stunning image. Your lighting is beautiful. It's I think if you've had the light on the camera right side. Am I accurate there in saying that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, the light is brushing over baby's nose. You can see, I don't know if you guys know, you guys can't see my mouse. I'll just explain it. But right there underneath the nose, you can see that really nice butterfly nose shadow. Now, if you just kind of squint your eyes, and this can be done in the cool thing, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but Jane, there's a lot of things that can be done in post that will make an image shine. So
Okay.
even if it doesn't necessarily happen perfectly in camera, don't always stress about that. Like there's so many times when Michelle Parsley calls it polishing a turd. Like when you have an image that's great in so many ways, but you just need to polish the turd a little bit to make it really shine. Not that this is a turd by any means, so please don't think I said that. But I have so many images where I shot it in camera raw and it was like just okay. Like it was kind
Hmm.
of crappy for lack of a better word. But the posing was good, the lighting was decent, and just a little bit of post-production work and it could really shine and make the image look beautiful. And I think this is definitely one of those images, and you've already done some nice post-production work to it, but we could definitely add a little bit more to make it shine even more. So what I want you to do is kind of squint your eyes a little bit, like so you're looking through your eyelashes. I know we're gonna
Uh-huh.
um, but if you notice, there's a bright spot like right on his nose and on Daddy's left wrist, camera left wrist, or the pad of his thumb. Do you see that?
Right.
And then
Uh-huh.
on his right fingernail, there's thumbnail. There's a bright spot. Do you see that? So
Right. Yes, I do.
our
Uh-huh.
eye is always drawn to the greatest point of contrast, and so hot spots in the image we tend to be drawn to. Now,
Hmm.
it's not blown out by any means. By any means, this is wonderful technical as far as the zone system. We've got solid blacks, we've got solid whites. I see the entire range. Do you know what I'm talking about when I call it zone
Yes.
system? Yeah.
Yes.
But
Uh-huh.
what I would love to see you do is kind of tone down some of those bright spots, but
Okay.
then lighten up where we want the eye to travel. And where do we want the eye to travel? Baby's face,
To
right?
the face. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I would love to see you just dodge a little bit on that forehead and on the cheeks, underneath the eye cheekbone and his lips a little bit. And it's challenging because you got to see light. You can't overdo it. Otherwise it'll
Right.
be too much. But then that would make the light really pop on baby's face, and Dad is just kind of the support there. So what I'm telling you is taking a really beautiful image to the next level. This
Okay.
is the type
Yes.
of work that commands high dollar. Okay, this is the type of work right here where clients are going to see this and go, oh my gosh, this is stunning. I'm willing to pay for this kind of work. Make sense?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So lovely, lovely job. Next time, future in camera things, just the little finger,
Yeah.
Dad's right hand, see how his hand on the left, you can see his fingers really nicely, but then on the right, they're kind of hiding behind his head.
Right.
So you just
Oh,
want to bring that out just a touch. And it's so
okay.
frustrating, I know, when you oh, why didn't I see that in camera? Ah! And it's been there, done that, got that t-shirt. But otherwise, beautiful texture. I love the texture in his little toes and other minor things. The baby's right arm could have come out, like to see that hand too.
Right.
I mean, we're talking splitting hairs here. We're talking
Okay.
like, you know, really
Yeah.
getting fussy picky. But other than
Okay.
that, a stunning, beautiful image. And I think this is one of your best in the bunch. I really, really loved it.
Thank you.
So nice job, honey. Okay.
Thanks.
On to the next one. Look at this cutie patootie. I love it. Again, beautiful lighting. I think you're really right when it comes to the fact that you're mastering your lighting. Beautiful butterfly shadow underneath the baby's nose. I perhaps would have liked to see a little bit more of a highlight on the lip, like across the lip. And all that is basically taking your light and moving it out just a little bit more so that it feathers across the body a little bit.
Okay.
And bringing the light in closer to the subject. Because
Okay.
light falls off at a, I'm sure you remember the inverse square law from studying.
Right.
The closer the light is to the subject, the greater the fall off in that short distance just beyond the light.
Right.
If the light's super far away, then the fall off is less out here. Make sense?
Yes.
So if your light is in a little bit closer, what that's going to do is it's going to make the baby's face be the brightest part of the image. And then the fall off will be really great on the body, which is what we kind of want, right?
Yeah.
So try bringing your light just a little bit closer and around, just like a little bit more in front of the baby. Don't lose that shadow though. I mean, that's beautiful. You've done an amazing job right there. Don't lose that shadow, but try to get that little kiss of highlight on the lips. And, you know, I have been known to paint it in. So,
Yeah.
you know, go in there with a little brush and artistically kind of paint that little highlight. You see the little kiss highlight on the lower lip, what I'm talking about? I'd love to see just a little bit more of that to really make those lips go.
Okay.
Okay. But
Okay.
you've done a great job with your posing here. I don't see a big problem with the posing. Again, tiny little things, the hands, out, you know,
Fingers out or something.
the fingers out. I know, and it's so frustrating because you're like, oh, it's good, shoot it, you know. I get it. What I always do is I shoot like this. When I know I've got a good shot, then I'll tweak the pose a little bit and see if I can make it better.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, sorry, there's big trucks going by if you guys can hear that. The camera angle, you've done a nice job. I want you to tweak just a little bit and go down baby's nose. So like, I know you're looking at me opposite, so it's a little weird, but like imagine shooting baby and you're kind of up by his head. I just want you to shoot down the nose just a little bit more. And what that'll do is make the feet fall out of focus because the feet will be further away from the camera than the face. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And the other thing with posing in this is that to really refine it and make it amazing is to push those legs back a little bit. So and then lift the head up. So the legs are at a diagonal backwards, and then the face, just lift the chin up towards the light and then shoot down the nose. And all of a sudden you'll get those feet falling off into out of focus in the background because you have beautiful bokeh here. I mean, what lens are you shooting your babies with?
The 24-70.
Okay. And then are you shooting in a wider open aperture kind of thing?
Yeah.
And what focal length?
I don't trust myself at 2.8. It's usually 3.5.
Okay.
3.2 or 3.5 around there.
And that's fine. And are you shooting at like 50 millimeters, 60 millimeters?
Yeah, right between there.
Okay, that's perfect. Because then you don't get too much distortion. If you go wider than that, I'm sure you've seen it, like baby's nose ends up growing to the size of it.
Yeah, the only ones I do wide is if I shoot down because I'm not super tall.
Okay.
You know,
I get it.
On a basket or something. Yeah.
But as far as set design goes, this is beautiful. It's light, it's fresh, it's airy, it's very kind of, for lack of a better word, monochromatic. Like there's not a lot of variation in color tone, and it's neutral. And parents love that. I'm sure you've seen that. Parents love that. Love it. So nice job on this image. I think just a few tweaks in camera in the future, you will find this pose improving tenfold. But there's nothing wrong with this at all. It's a beautiful sellable image and I think quality for professional level with what we're talking about, which raising your prices, doing in-person sales, that kind of thing for sure.
Okay.
Same with this one. The only thing about this one that I would have had you fix, again, fingers. And you know what? Fingers are the last thing you fix. Like when you're learning newborn posing, fingers are like the very last thing that takes you from, doing a good job for newborn photography to becoming one of these elite experts. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's where it really starts to come. But same thing, just get those fingers nice and flat like this. But otherwise, I love that in all your baby images, I can see baby's face. you have made baby's face the focus of the images, and that's super, super important. The crown here, beautiful. It goes with the tonality of what we're seeing. But also, if you squint, the crown's kind of one of the first things you see, right? It's like
Yeah.
the brightest part. It's like because there's a color contrast, you kind of see it. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. Just something to consider. I tend to, when I shoot babies, not shoot anything that's much larger than the size of the baby's eye, just so I stay on the face. Now, granted, there are amazing photographers out there like Tara Lindley, who's become a good friend of mine. She's in Boise, Idaho, and she is rocks. I mean, she can pump those big bows like nobody's business. Like her images are just they're not huge by any means, but she uses bigger stuff on baby's head, and it works. She has learned how to combine those things. So I definitely recommend looking at her work, seeing what she does, because that'll help you kind of learn to use these larger headpieces with ease and confidence. I'm a total chicken to use the big ones. Like to me, it's just safe to use one that's not too big. But honestly, I should experiment, and you've done it successfully here.
Thank you.
The contrast here is a little like let's just put it this way: if we converted this to black and white, I would say the image might be a little muddy. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yes.
So the blacks aren't quite black enough, if that makes sense, and the whites aren't quite white enough. So oftentimes in a color image, I will test that by turning an image to black and white and seeing how it looks. And if it works, then I know my contrast is good. And one of the hard parts with babies is we fix the contrast and then the skin goes all red. You know what I'm talking about? So fix your contrast first and then work on the skin. And that way you'll know you're getting a true range of tonal contrast in the image. And then as far as, this, again, a beautiful image that's definitely worthy of high quality, charging professional level prices, without a doubt. Try in your cropping to zoom out a little bit so that we don't crop off the blanket over here on the left, just to give that feeling of negative space. Sometimes that adds another extra layer of elegance and that minimalist feel to the image that I know you're going after. But I see a consistent style. I mean, I'm seeing it right now, don't you?
I'm hoping I'm getting there.
You are definitely getting there. Okay, let's move on to another image. This one here. This one I have a little bit more to say about. This one, the posing is beautiful. Again, I see the face, the lighting is stunning. It's got the pieces to put together. The only thing here where I would say you need to work on is your set design, okay? Now, granted, the colors are fun and beautiful if you had put it on a green background or a yellow background, or you kind of stayed consistent, because we've got brown, we've got green, and we've got gold going on, which isn't a bad color scheme, but it's not completely harmonious. We've shot a rather bright image on a low-key scene. Does that make sense? Which sometimes sometimes it works, but it's really hard to do successfully. So what I want you to do is we're gonna go ahead and flip this image, okay? And then we're gonna make it small. And I want you to look at, and do this eye squinty thing. What do you see first?
The fur.
You kind of see the fur, but you do see baby. The fur and the baby kind of compete with one another, don't they?
Right.
Like your eye wants to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like you can't really go, oh yeah, baby. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So in this situation, had you used a brown fur, oh, then we're talking a little different story. Then all of a sudden the baby is the focal point and things start to really resonate and it works. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely.
So overall, I love the image. It's a great image and the posing is lovely. You did a nice job. Your lighting is good. The lighting is starting to get borderline flat. Not bad, but borderline. Tell me about your lighting setup in this. How did you have it?
I think I had it camera or on the left coming in, and I probably had a fill on the right. I think I had.
I think you did, because if you notice, because if you notice, the fur is brighter on the left. See that? Just a touch.
Yeah.
A touch.
Yeah.
But there's a shadow on the baby's nose on the left. Do you see that? Just to the left of the nose? That's from the fill. Do you see that? So the fill was just a little too bright.
Too much.
Yeah, just a touch. You don't want that shadow to hit right there. You want
Okay.
the shadow to be on the other side so that the light looks like it's coming from one direction. So
Okay.
what we have here is a mixed lighting situation, lighting coming from two different directions, which tends to flatten it out. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So
Yeah.
if you just kind of turn down the fill, probably by about half, you would
Mm-hmm.
have filled the shadows without overtaking the main. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yes.
So
Yeah.
overall, I think the posing is actually quite good. I don't think you need to worry about your posing too much at all. Again, minor things, fingers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
His hair is
Yeah.
awesome. I love how it fits the fur. But do you see if you'd use like a chocolate brown fur in this, how it would have changed
Yes.
things a little bit? It would have taken everything down in key, and you
Right.
wouldn't have the background and the foreground competing with one another, and baby would pop. Make sense?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
darling image. I love the composition. I love where he is in frame. So many good things to say about it. I think there's just a few things that you could really hone in on. And number one, that would make baby stand out more. And it would also up the level of this image to be one of those elegant, high-end quality images. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, let's turn it around a little again because I'm going through my keynote here. And there we go. Okay, this one, darling image. I think again we're in a situation where we've got the muddy stuff
Yeah.
on. Like just a simple contrast curve on this, and it would fix so many of those issues right there. This is just a post issue. The only other thing that worries me is that we're shooting the light is up the nose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you had just flipped baby around this way and raised the light so the light skims over the top of his face, we would have
Okay.
had a completely different image. Make sense?
Oh,
But it
yes.
doesn't make it bad. It was that ghoul lighting effect where we just have to be careful that we don't overdo that. And
Right.
it's kind of like borderline. It's like, it's almost backlight. Do you know what I mean? Like if you had brought the light around so that it was truly backlight and coming from the side of him, I would have been like, okay, we're at the right angle. But it's to the side and down, like going up his nose a little bit. Do you see that?
Right.
So just a
Yes.
little shift, and all of a sudden
Oh,
we would have had a backlighting situation, which would have been a totally different image and a stronger light pattern, for lack of a better word.
okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. This one, family images are hard. Again, a
I
little bit
struggle
of,
with them.
it's a whole nother animal. And because you're dealing with 3 heads and 6 arms
Mhm.
and 30
Yeah.
fingers, and it's not easy. Again, the lighting is just a touch flat. I want to see that fill be less intense.
Okay.
But I feel like your lighting direction is coming from the right angle. We've got baby, it's like not going up baby's nose. It's flattering the subject. I think just taking down that fill a little bit would dramatically improve it.
Okay.
Now, are you shooting in a smaller space, hun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it hard for you to pull your subjects off the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand. And that's just a challenge of the situation you're facing. And what that's
Mm-hmm.
doing is it's throwing a good shadow onto your background
Yeah.
because they're so close to it. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I love the color harmony here. You've worked really well with the browns. I mean, the monochromatic scheme is gorgeous. I think the biggest thing that you could do here is just that light, just not so much fill, and
Okay.
learning to control the one main light. And what that's going to mean is pulling it around the subjects just a touch, not too much. You
Okay.
don't want it to go flat again, but if it's too far to the side or back, then you'll get that kind of hatchet lighting that
Yeah.
left and right, and that's just not flattering on anybody.
Right.
The posing is very good with mom. I do like that. Try to get baby wrapped tighter. You know how they like to push out.
Yeah.
But you did a
Uh-huh.
really good job. I mean, wrapping is not easy. In post, I might see how her white shirt like pops out at you.
Yeah.
The sleeve there on the left on the collar.
Yeah.
I might just tone that down so your eye
Okay.
isn't like drawn to it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
And then with dad's hand, like see how I'm like seeing the back of his hand real flat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just bringing it under the elbow so that you see the side of it a little bit
Yeah.
more will really help you to just tweak, fine tune posing.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
But otherwise,
yeah.
I think you did a really good job. I think mom, chin forward and down is always that thing. And even just by standing up on a stool, sometimes you can eliminate that problem.
Okay.
I know we were joking earlier when we were on,
Yeah.
before we went on the air. We're like, always put the camera up high.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with your clients, but otherwise a good image. Experiment around with cropping, try doing things horizontal if you can. And I know you're in a small space, but in post-production, you can always extend that background a little bit and make a nice horizontal image, which again, more negative space leads to that higher end feel. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
But otherwise, color's good, lighting's good. Just tone down that fill light a little bit. Mama's chin, of course, that down. What I always do too is like, I'll have mom just lean forward like this, like she's holding baby, and I'll okay, just break at the waist and lean towards me. And all of a sudden see how like even looking at me, I'm kind of like you're looking up my chin just a little bit like you are with her there. But if I just go like this and lean forward, now all of a sudden it flattens the plane, and baby's face and mama's face are on the same plane. And then that kind of makes her more flattering. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So try that trick next time you do a family. Okay. Like literally just have her go like this and you'll see it's a world of difference. You'll be like, yes.
Perfect.
This is one of my favorite images of yours. Last one for today. This is stunning. And why is it stunning? It's because it's so different. And I love that you're experimenting with your images and you're going for that artistic feel. And did you paint this at all?
No, I added a texture.
Like a canvas texture over it. Yeah, it's stunning and beautiful, my dear.
Thank you.
I love this. It has a very high-end, elegant feel. I think minor critiques, if you turned baby slightly so we could see her face and then put her butt back and her head forward more, we would have seen baby a little bit more. The wrap is a good choice. I think a creamier tone rather than that. Honestly, is that a pure white wrap? Is that like pure white?
Or is it is more like an ivory.
Yeah, I rarely work with things that are pure white because it's just so bright.
So yeah.
So try to like help you use tones that are creamier. But otherwise, I mean, this is a stunning image, and the posing is quite lovely. Like mama looks great. Her hands are beautiful. I like if you just twisted baby just slightly more towards you. Okay. And again, use that little trick of mama leaning towards you. Yeah. Oh, you're going to find a world of difference. Okay. But this is the type of image that people are going to come to you for because it's so different. It has a very fairy tale-esque feel. And it still resonates, I think, with your style of a clean, simple look, but still feminine and lovely.
Okay.
So overall, I think you're doing an amazing job. I do see a consistent style. There is a less is more feel to your work. I have a very strong sense of neutrals and baby being the focus of the image. So I think you've got it going on there. I also see a strong consistency with your lighting. I think a few tweaks with that fill light and you're going to see things really shine. I think the weakest areas, and you probably know it, your family posing, just kind of really, it's hard. It's the last thing to come. It's not something that happens overnight, but just really tweak things and keep that baby nice and wrapped. And, that's my secret weapon in these newborn sessions is learning to swaddle tightly and keep baby locked and loaded, under lock and key, so to speak. It keeps them warm, it keeps them cozy. They end up falling asleep, and doing parent poses with a baby wrapped is absolutely no problem at all. I know we all love those naked baby shots, but it's not always feasible. So be forgiving of yourself there. But I think overall the work is definitely a professional level. I mean, there's no question about that there. Minor tweaks here and there. And I think, you can start commanding those higher prices. And we could talk all day long about pricing and stuff like that, which we probably won't get into today, but go for it. But keep the consistency. Just really in your head, think about camera angle, lighting angle, posing angle. And it's so much to remember, I know. Yeah. But overall, I think you're on the right track, and just minor tweaks will really send you from point A to point B without a doubt.
Okay.
So do you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, any things you like, did I miss that you want to talk about?
No, I think you covered a lot, and you've given me some great tips to think about. I'm hoping to expand to a larger area. I think if I was in a bigger space, my lighting and stuff, I'd have more to move around. Right now it's really snug, and that's the challenge.
It is a challenge, but it doesn't mean you can't shoot in a smaller space. It really does not. So, But on the other hand, I don't want you to move the couple off the wall and then use a wider angle lens, which will distort
Right.
them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, keep doing what
Yeah.
you're doing. You can soften shadows in post, get yourself up on a stool, get mom and dad to lean over like this, and you'll see a world of difference right there.
Okay.
Start focusing on fingers a little bit more. That's going to be a huge
Mhm.
thing that'll up the
Mhm.
quality of your work. But by the way, Tara Lindley said she loves the flower headband image. She is so, that's what the Jane, I think that's the biggest take home lesson here is there's no wrong way to do things or to set
Right.
design. It's just what attracts you, what your style is, and what
Mhm.
leads you to the baby. And Tara is an expert at using larger headbands and things.
Uh-huh.
And, so don't be afraid to use them. Just, practice so that, and think about, okay, does this color work with the other elements in the set that I'm using?
Uh-huh.
And does it detract from the baby? I think that's the biggest question anyone who's doing newborn photography should ask themselves. Does it detract from the baby?
Right.
Okay, Kathy has a question for you. You ready for a couple questions?
Sure.
She wants to know what Jane is using for fill. Are you using a light or a reflector?
Both. It
Nice.
some of them I had two lights, but lately I've been doing the reflector.
Nice. Okay, well, then maybe just back it off a little bit, move your main a little closer to get that fall off greater, and that'll help a lot.
Okay.
The person I wanted to mention who does really amazing work with larger flowery headbands is Julie Klassmeyer. I think she's watching today. So hi, Julie. But Julie is an amazing, like Tara, she does these colorful things so beautifully and has that talent for incorporating color, which for me, honestly, is really challenging. Like I have to me, neutral girl, like it's so much
Yeah.
easier and it's my go-to. And I think we all just have a personal attraction to certain color schemes, to certain textures, to certain
Mhm.
ways we do things, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. And I'm sure you feel the same way because I can tell that you're kind of a neutral girl as well.
Uh-huh.
But I get so jealous of these people who can do this amazing color. I mean, Carolee
Color.
Case, Jennifer Nace, those are some
Mhm.
other newborn photographers who use just bright, vibrant color, and they do it so beautifully. Louisa Dunn, of course, is another one.
Yeah.
So if you love color, check out their work and see what they're doing and emulate them. I don't ever advocate full out copying, but I always say kind of take some elements of what they're doing and practice putting that into your work and seeing if you can do it if you love color.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Jane,
Yeah.
you are a trooper.
Thank you
You are willing to
for
be
having
guinea
me.
pig. I'm so proud of you. I'm like so happy.
And
Thank
it wasn't
you.
too bad.
It wasn't too good.
It
I
was
always
really
promise this, but I
good.
also want to give you constructive things that you can really take home. So
Yes.
practice doing that flip upside down trick and like analyzing the image with your eyes squinted and small. Ask yourself where your eye is going. And then as you start doing that with actual images that are on your computer screen, then
Mhm.
when you get into the camera room and you start shooting, you're going to do the same thing in the camera room. You'll be like, oh, that might not work. And you'll start
Okay.
to make tweaks and adjustments that will improve your work.
Okay.
You're
Perfect.
awesome, Jane.
You.
Thank you. Stay on the line here, and I'm going to sign off to everybody else, and then you and I can have a little chat as we
Okay.
and say goodbye properly. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching today. Of course, you can find the archives at jewel-tv.com. I'm going to go ahead and share a couple of other things. If you're watching this on YouTube, I wanted to add that, of course, you can find those archives at jewel-tv.com and go ahead and opt in, and that will give you access to the archives. But keep in mind, we have this Facebook group where we do broadcast live, typically on Tuesdays. As you guys can probably tell by my voice, I've been very sick the last 2 weeks. So I had to juggle a bunch of sessions, and so finally better, but of course we had to reschedule a bunch of sessions for this week. So that's why we're airing today on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. But normally on Tuesday, we are live in the group. And of course, if you'd like to find me on social media, you can do so at these links here. We are most active, of course, on Facebook, Pinterest, and also on Instagram. So again, Jane, I think everyone should, of course, give a huge round of applause to that girl because she's amazing. Bess over there clapping. You are awesome, and we hope that you guys will all join us next week. We actually have a mini mentoring session next week about business and branding. So we will see you live next Tuesday. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week, everyone, and get out there and practice shooting because that's, of course, what is going to make you better. Again, bye, everyone. Jane, goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.